Hello and welcome. This is Sadie from Sage Acupuncture in Austin, Texas. And today we have a special guest, Carla, who is going to be telling us about her process with donor egg and how she was successful. So, welcome, Carla.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Carla is a musician here in Austin. And can you tell us a little bit about your history with fertility and how you came to?
Yeah, I mean, unlike a lot of people, I did not start trying super early. Because of our kind of crazy careers and things like that. We did not even consider it until very late. I was already 40, and but because I felt so young, and I feel like I looked young, and it's like certainly my insides were also still young, and you just hear about so many women having babies in their 40s, so I wasn't too worried about it. But we tried for I don't know a good 6 months. I was already, I think, 42 at this point, actually, or maybe 41. And when things weren't happening, then I was like, okay, well, I started taking some herbs, I started doing some research on the internet. And when that wasn't working, I I just was at actually at my regular primary physician, and she was like, well, let's do some tests. And I had no idea what the tests were or what they were actually going to tell me, but I went back to get them, and she was basically like, wow, well, that just does not look good. And I was pretty shocked. And I didn't know exactly what it was the AMH and FSH numbers, and they were both off the charts, just bad. That goes like zero hope, basically, I felt like. At that point, of course, I went into a pretty bad devastation, even though it was a surprise to me, because up until that point, I was like, oh, we'll just try and see what happens. And it was finally time, but my body had other plans. And I'm not trying to say that it couldn't have possibly worked if I tried longer, but I felt like I was kind of low on time. And also, in my research and during this time about what was going on and learning more about fertility and eggs, and I just came across a lot of people who had been trying for a good 10, 15 years. And, I could sense that devastation and kind of how it was all consuming. And I just did not feel prepared to take that on and kind of have unknowns, still at this point. So I just kind of felt that for me, it was better to move on to something that was a little bit more possible, and not as up in the air. So.
And so then when you did decide to move forward, tell us a little bit about that process and maybe any information that you wish that someone had told you when you were going through it.
Well, I did have to go through a period of mourning. I feel like it was definitely an accelerated thing for me. I think a lot of people take a lot longer. Well, there is definitely this mourning of like the children that you won't have, kind of thing, and then you have to mourn. When you do decide to go with donor egg, you kind of mourn your passing on of your DNA, kind of thing. But I think what really helped me, and that's not necessarily something that someone told me, but I feel like I discovered on my own, that what really helped me get over the DNA issue and kind of not having my own biological child was kind of thinking about the child as, or myself as, a vehicle to bring an independent person into the world. And of course, my husband's DNA is definitely present there, and I found an awesome donor who I feel great about, which I feel like is like a better version of me. So, I'm excited about the donor. I'm excited about kind of sharing this child a little bit. Right? I did have some setbacks since I started donor egg. This was my third transfer. My first did not work, and my second I miscarried at 5 weeks. So it's not completely fail safe, but I feel like I was lucky because I chose a program as a guarantee program, and so the financial pressure, even though it was a lot of money to pay, the pressure was off. I knew that I could keep trying, basically, until So it
And
works.
I know that we've talked a little bit about this as well. Just the cost can be daunting to people.
Yes.
And you and your
Yes.
husband are both musicians here in Austin.
Yes.
So how did that feel? How did you manage that aspect of it?
So at first it was like, yeah, there's absolutely no way, but at one point I feel like it occurred to me that I was almost about to buy a new car. I had to get a new car. Well, it was a used car or whatever, but I was ready to drop $25,000, with a loan, obviously. Um, and it just didn't seem like a big deal that people do that every day, $25,000, you do a loan and you make payments every month. Luckily, I did not have to actually buy a car. But kind of just going through that process where I didn't even second guess that, it just made me realize, well, I mean, dropping a large amount of money to be able to be a parent, and actually, carry a child and give birth, well, that shouldn't be a very big deal either then.
And so how did you manage through that time? What was supportive for you?
Well, so I had never really stopped coming to Sage, for one. It was a constant weekly kind of solace and peaceful time, no matter what was going on in my regular life and in the fertility process. So it has been proven, I believe, right, that acupuncture is super helpful, not only for, mental health and things like that, but that it does help chances of success with, I think, IVF in general.
Right. And specifically for donor egg, we're really working with the uterine environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't have to work with the eggs as much, obviously, or ovaries, but yeah. And so I tried to really change my diet. I've always been a healthy eater, but I kind of, went a little bit more extreme and cut out sugars and things like that. And that was, basically that was what I decided to do after the first one didn't work necessarily.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations. Do you have
Thanks.
any last words of wisdom for people who are thinking about doing this process?
Well, I would say just, get on the internet. There's so much information and the forums are super helpful. So if you get on the Facebook groups, there's always people like ready to answer your questions. Definitely research all your options because there are people who kind of regret not having looked into all the options. There are also overseas options,
That's right.
which are very substantially cheaper, but they do have some drawbacks and things like if you want to know more about the donor or see pictures and things like that, they don't necessarily allow that in most countries. So.
Yes, we've worked with people who've gone all over the world, actually.
Yeah, yeah. And it is an exciting option, and I did consider it, but some people feel good about not seeing a picture because they don't want to necessarily know much about the donor, but I kind of wanted to know everything possible about the donor. So
Great, great. Well, thank you so much
thank you.
and congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate it.